you for clicking on this Rank the Movies video. This week I'm joined by a very special guest. It is my cat expert, Courtney Krause, because we are clearly talking about the movie Cats. Now, we both watched this for the first time just minutes ago, minutes before recording this. We'll get into our thoughts and our opinions.
That's a lot of thoughts.
On everything. I just want to start with the big thing before we get into any of the myriad of problems this movie has. Let's start with the big one, the one everybody talks about, and let's get that out of the way. Let's talk about the really, really bad CG of this movie, because that's where we need to start. Because I think that's where I'm gonna say I looked up the IMDb parental guides on this movie. Under sex and nudity, it was severe. The only thing it said under it, telling you that it was severe, was that it was traumatizing. And I think that's actually a fairly good description of the CG in this movie.
Yes.
Is traumatizing. It's inconsistent.
Incredibly inconsistent.
It's bad to look at.
You don't know where to look at.
Seriously, no, it's true. The faces, some of them look fine. Other ones look like they don't belong on the body.
Idris Elba was probably the biggest offender of looked like it was on a different body.
Yep. And the faces, some of them just kind of looked like they were just floating in the orb that they were supposed to be in, but they weren't really, nailed to, they weren't solid. They didn't look like it looked fluid instead of solid. Also, the fact that some of them had CG paws, or their hands were CG'd to look paw-ish.
Others were, half-painted.
And others had nothing. They just were hands. You could just see their hands.
Human hands.
Same thing with the feet. And the choice of giving some of them clothing and some of them not clothing.
And some of them shoes, but then I think what bugged me more about the shoes was the fact that it clearly was just shoes on 2 feet, which I was like, okay, if you're going to go to the shoe thing, why isn't there something on all 4 paws?
Right. Why isn't there... And that's the other thing, is that they were, at the beginning, they were all running around on all 4s very awkwardly, because these were human beings trying to do that.
Yes.
And trying to do that skillfully and swiftly. Just looks awkward to begin with.
So awkward. Oh my lord. It was like, I'm climbing, but I'm going nowhere.
Yep. And then they give that up, and it's just... They're just standing on 2 feet.
But like a weird interpretive dance. Like at no point was anyone moving in a way that couldn't be thought of as interpretive dance. Like the amount of foot cramps these actors had to have had, because I don't think I saw a single foot not with a pointed toe, unless it was the planted foot.
Yeah.
The I'm gonna, in quotes here, call her main character. Like that foot was just eternally curled.
And even just going off of just the cats themselves, because that CG was bad on a lot of them. When it was practical makeup, it didn't look bad. Jennifer Hudson didn't look bad. Judi Dench didn't look bad, because those are that was clearly practical makeup.
Yes. And Judi Dench, I would argue, was also benefited. They went for more of the fluffy cat.
Yep.
So she had the hair surrounding, which helped.
The worst was Idris Elba.
Oh, so
because he wears a trench coat and hat for the most of it, but then for some reason at the end he loses both, and he looks like they decided to make him a very short-haired cat, but so short-haired it was hard to identify that he had hair. It just kind of looked like Idris Elba stripped naked, and they just digitally removed his junk.
Idris Elba, I am convinced he owed someone money and he needed it fast, so he's like, I'll take this movie, I don't even care.
Yeah.
He owed somebody money, he made a bet,
he owed a favor.
He lost big.
He owed a favor. Also, to go along with the bad CG, I said it a lot, especially towards the end of the movie, this movie had terrible scale going on. Nothing seemed to be in scale with anything. You'd see them against buildings, and they looked they looked, here's a cat, this is a cat. If this is the scale of this cat, then anything else that would have been scaled to would have been, like,
The
this
buildings
phone,
were literally, like, your size.
yeah, this is the scale of the phone to the cat. In this movie, the phone would have, for some reason, have been about that big. But the cat was still this big.
Then let's, the mice and the cockroaches.
Yep.
That were...
really tiny compared to the cats. And then whenever, and that was stuff in the distance, when they actually had to hold things, then the scale went awry again because they were pulling, like, the magician was pulling out a fork, and the fork was like, it was bigger, but like, their scaling, it should have been huge.
Yeah.
It should have been half his body, just by the scaling of it all. So it was just this constant, like, issue. And then they had jewelry which would fit around a cat's paw, which I can't think of anyone with a fat enough finger that a ring would be able to fit around a cat's paw.
And yet it, like, was tiny enough that it wasn't constantly slipping off of her hand. And then at one point, the thieving cats drape something around her to look like a necklace, which you would assume is someone's, like, bracelet, but it was too small to be a bracelet that in this world scale would have actually fit a human hand.
Right. The scaling is bad. It's just, and that all took me out of this movie so quickly. And again, we haven't even gotten into the actual movie. This is just that stuff. And we're going to get into the movie and try to work through this movie. Because once you have all this other stuff pulling you away, it's hard to get into it. To even try to figure out what the hell is going on beyond the very base concept of this poorly crafted, I'm going to use quotes, story. But yeah, it's a very poorly crafted story.
Yeah.
So, we open with a woman in a car. And again, scale is off, scale is horrible here.
So bad.
With the cat in a bag.
Yep.
And then she throws the cat into a junk pile, which, after looking up, I've never seen the Broadway show either. I was just looking it up as we were watching.
I now have no interest too.
The junk pile is apparently, like, one of the main sets. I wouldn't have guessed that watching this movie. And then other cats awkwardly show up and start singing a song. Why they're singing to this cat, I don't know. But they start singing to this cat about Jellicle cats and a Jellicle song, and they never explain.
What the hell does Jellicle mean?
I had to look it up. That's how annoying it was, because they don't explain it. And I think the song might try to explain it, but because we were just being thrown into it, personally, I wasn't ready to be thrown directly into a song. I'm like, oh, we've got a cat being thrown into a garbage pile. Clearly, we're going to get the introductions, and then we're going to lead into the opening number, not just into the opening number.
Why establish character when you can just dive right into the dumpster fire that is this movie?
Basically, that is what they do. And it never stops. This movie never stops to breathe. It just wants to keep giving you another song, and another song, and another song. And then there's dialogue, and it feels awkward because it's not saying.
Yep.
And another song, and then another song.
I believe I have it marked somewhere because I attempted to take notes before I realized I just needed to give up on life. I believe we don't even get the first, like, actual moment of actual legitimate dialogue until well over 20 minutes into this movie.
Something like
it's
that.
the first actual genuine moment of dialogue that isn't just half singing whatever.
And they introduced the villain McCavity, but I don't think they ever actually introduce him. He shows up.
Yep.
But I don't think you're actually told that he's McCavity right away. We had subtitles on.
So we knew.
So the subtitles told us that's who he was, but I'm pretty sure he just shows up, starts talking to her about McCavity, and then she's told to run away. And at no point is it established. Like, I'm pretty sure the reveal that he's McCavity is supposed to be way later in his song, but that makes no sense with the rest of this story, because you had to have figured it out long before that
And
anyways.
even then, that moment, I wouldn't even say was was his song.
No, that was Taylor Swift's
song.
That was Taylor Swift's song. But yeah, and then we just start meeting cats. And they just start doing songs. We get Rebel Wilson doing a song. I don't remember what her cat's name is.
I don't either, but I don't mind Rebel Wilson. I don't. I enjoy her in like Pitch Perfect and other things. But dear God, there was no scene that she was in that wasn't so incredibly awkward.
It's true. I think she improvised a lot of stuff, and none of it was good.
None of it.
But yeah, and she apparently can unzip her coat.
Yeah, she literally took her skin off if we're following the world of this movie.
And had clothes underneath it, and another skin.
Also, I noticed on her second song when somehow getting out of her skin saved her, the fur with the clothes on was somehow bedazzled. So somehow she was a bedazzled cat.
Yeah, but we meet her. She does her song. Not that this is important. It's not important.
No part of this movie is important.
And then from there, we meet Rum Tum Tugger, who I like saying his name.
Rum Tum Tugger is a fun time.
And because I knew this character going in, this is one of the few things I knew is that the Rum Tum Tugger was a thing in this movie. I went, oh, he's got to be important in this movie. He's not. He has his song, and then he just kind of shows up in places throughout the rest of the movie.
If I'd say he truly has, like, scenes, it's like 2.
Maybe? I would
He appears in scenes.
He appears.
But he truly only has...
Oh, right, Let's Party. That's right, that scene.
He truly only has 2 scenes.
He truly only has 2 scenes, at least in this film version. So then Rum Tum Tugger does his song. We've still really had no dialogue. Oh, we missed a song. We missed the naming of cats, which I don't know what the point of that song
apparently, is. So I know, in the future, if I get tired of the name Courtney, I need to go to a graveyard, and I need to begin...
Dancing on a grave.
Dancing on a grave in an interpretive dance-style way, while also having a spell cast over me, but then... Don't worry, that's going to get too dark and heavy, and then there's going to be another cat that reminds me, hey, we haven't said the word Jellicle in 5 minutes.
And here's the thing, that cat's name never changes. It's Victoria the entire time.
That is true! She never gets a second name.
Nope. Because again, I think after looking over the Broadway stuff, I think there was another cat, who got a second name, that just got rolled into the Victoria, but for some reason they didn't give her the second name.
I don't know, but I also just want a quick add. I feel like there was maybe a part of them that knew this was going to be awful, so they're like, you know what, we want to help people out, and we're going to introduce a drinking game. Just from the sheer number of times the word Jellicle is said.
It said a lot. Alright, so from Rum Tum Tugger, we go to James Corden's cat.
Oh my God.
He fat shames himself. Multiple times fat shames himself in his song, which is probably really funny in the 80s when this movie was made, when the musical was made.
Probably.
Not so much in 2019 when this thing came out. Not so much. It's not fun that he fat shamed his own cat.
Also, wearing spats.
That's part of his name. He was the Spat Cat. Or the Pussy in Spat? Is that what it was?
No, Puss in Spats.
Puss in
Spats.
McCavity. Puss in Spats.
Puss in Spats.
Oh yeah, McCavity kidnaps Rebel Wilson's cat, and then at the end of Corden's song, he kidnaps him.
I wouldn't say so much kidnapped as Infinity stoned them onto a boat.
Right.
In which there was a random...
Other cat.
There's
a lot of random other cats.
Hey, we can't introduce a cat without giving them a song. We're legally obligated to give any cat that's introduced a song.
Luckily it was a 30-second song, so...
I still couldn't tell you anything from it.
Nope, I couldn't even tell you that cat's name. And that whole song was about that cat's name.
Yep. It started with a G?
Yep, it started with a G, and it sounded weird. From there, our main cat gets separated and runs into 2 thieving cats who have a whole song about thieving, and then they leave her as a dog attacks, and then a magic cat who just showed up in the background of scenes.
She also, though, has enough strength to shut a door on
the dog. Yes. She has enough strength to shut the door on the dog. And then a magic cat shows up who's only appeared in background at this point. Like, he's helped a couple of the songs, but he hasn't really had a focus on him, which apparently he's supposed to, given how the rest of this pans out. But he shows up to help her because he's the love interest. We finally find out who the love... After she made sex eyes at Rum Tum Tugger through his entire song.
She made sex eyes at everyone. I'm convinced she was making sex eyes at Judi Dench.
She was in heat. She was a cat.
She was clearly a cat.
And speaking of Judi Dench, after she's done not robbing a house, she then goes and we meet old Deuteronomy, played by Judi Dench.
Which also... not super clear if that's her name or not until she actually finally refers to herself as old Deuteronomy.
A little bit, because like Ian McKellen starts to show up at that exact same moment.
Which one?
Which one? They're both old. I have no idea which one's old Deuteronomy.
Also, are we now old shaming? Really? That's ageist.
A little bit. Oh, I haven't actually gotten into the quote-unquote plot of this movie. We've just been walking through it because...
That's because there is no plot of this movie.
You're right, I could almost get to the second act. I could almost get to the later songs
also,
and then explain it all.
If anyone watches Cats and does not refer to the main character as main character, you're a liar, because that cat could have been taken out of this entire movie and the plot would not have been affected.
But yeah, we meet old Deuteronomy, which then leads into a giant dance number that is like 10 minutes longer than it has any right to be in a motion picture.
Yep. The dance number that... I literally started singing, "This is the dance that never ends." It was the only thing getting me through it. The only thing that was going to get me through it.
Yeah. We get a dance number, and this is when the glamour cat, who does not look like they've had a rough life. Their coat's a little disheveled.
I was going to say, I can't...
Not like their fur.
Their
coat that they're wearing is a little disheveled.
If you did notice, she had a slight, chip out of her ear.
Slight chip out of her ear.
Slight chip out of her ear.
She was introduced earlier, but who cares? She shows back up to get chased off. Then they tease singing Memory. Then they don't.
Yep.
Then old Deuteronomy has a moment with main character that's pointless, and I don't remember it other than it happened.
Yep.
Then apparently we enter into this contest. This is the plot of this movie, and we're an hour into it. Is apparently once a year there's a Jellicle ball, and one cat gets to get reborn as another Jellicle cat, so they get another chance at life.
If you're curious, I did timestamp it, and I made him pause it so I could timestamp it. And he just thought I was pausing it because I was like, "Dear God, how much more have you got?" No, I mean I was wondering. 53 minutes. That's when our main character finally says anything more than like 2 words.
A little, yeah. It's weird. But yeah, apparently one cat gets to be reborn, but all have to audition with a song, and McCavity is kidnapping his competition because he wants to win. But yeah,
they've already sung songs.
Yep, and then we meet Gus. I just want to keep calling him Old Gus, but that's simply a Bob's Burgers thing. That's the only reason I want to keep calling him Old Gus.
That could have saved this movie so hard!
Anyways, Old Gus comes out. This is Ian McKellen. He does his song.
Now you want to go to Kiss Equip It. Bob's Burgers, coming soon.
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll already be out.
Thank the Lord.
But he has his song about him being an old cat. Then he gets kidnapped because, like, it matters. Then we meet a cat who's in suspenders, who's a railway cat.
Yeah, what's a rail cat?
A cat that lives on the rails.
But, like, according to their whatever, it wasn't just a cat that lived on the rails. That cat worked the trains.
Yeah, a little bit. That's what it looked like.
Like, I was waiting for, it's gonna be Polar Express, and I was gonna be like, "Where's my hot cocoa? I need my hot cocoa."
He does his song and is kidnapped. Then Taylor Swift shows up because why not?
Why not?
She has not been in this movie before this moment.
By the way, Taylor Swift, I know you are a fan of this channel, so you're gonna watch this.
No one's a fan of this channel.
Hey, I am. So Taylor Swift. I say this not as a fan, because truly it wasn't until Shake It Off that I could stand you.
Shake it off.
Shake it. That was literally the first time I was just like, oh, okay, I get it. If you have not already, you need to fire your agent for suggesting. This did not lead to the big acting break she thought she was getting.
But yeah, she introduces McCavity, and this is apparently his song, even though he's only in it for the last
30 seconds.
Chorus.
Also, how the hell does catnip work in this world?
It knocks them out, or it makes them high or horny.
I don't know.
Sure
I don't know.
It knocked out main character, but it made the other ones dancey? I don't know. So, McCavity looks
But yet, it never affected her.
No, it never affected any of the ones that were sprinkling it.
Yep.
They had an immunity to catnip because they've been doing it. It's like a drug. You do it for long enough, eventually you build up an immunity.
That was dangerously getting close to our list of things we shouldn't say. That happened a lot. We'd make comments and we're like, we can't say this for the movie or for the video.
A little bit. So McCavity looks at old Deuteronomy and in his very almost naked body.
He basically
they made him shiny.
They went, you know what? Here's some baby oil. We're gonna go to the barbershop down the street. There's some hair. All right, cool. You're a cat.
He demands old Deuteronomy name him the winner because there's no other contestants. She refuses, so he kidnaps her to the barge.
How is that supposed to work? Because then they weren't going to be at the place that could have lifted him up.
I don't know. And they were going to make her walk the plank.
Which cats can swim?
Yeah. While all the other captured cats watched, and this is where Rebel Wilson decided to unzip her coat and take off her skin again
because
for the second time. And all these cats that have been kidnapped, basically, after this moment, don't do anything. Like, they escape.
Nope.
And then they're just background for
also,
the last song.
I noted it right away. As soon as, she shimmied, somehow getting out of... they all just magically were able to go...
Yep,
and I was like,
their chains.
So you really weren't chained?
Yeah. Anyways, old Deuteronomy is magicked back to the theater by our magic cat getting his confidence, which would have been a great subplot. That would have been a really solid subplot, that he was unconfident and then gained his confidence back in that song. Would have been a fantastic subplot. Wasn't a subplot of this movie. It just happened because main character love interest had faith in him and he was able to magic because love makes you magic. Or I guess these are cats, so sex makes you magic. Hey, cats don't love. Cats just make babies. Make a litter, move on. Drop that litter off with a family that'll raise them, then you move on too. I actually had a cat when I was growing up. Would only show up to have a litter of kittens. As soon as they were weaned, was off again. Did that like 4 or 5 times.
I'd question where you were going with this, but I was like, honestly, that would track. I feel like the movie's still on.
Thank you.
I'm left. The face I just made while he was talking, that was my face for a solid hour and 40 minutes. Because multiple times I wrote down, what the crap is going on?
The answer is nothing. So old Deuteronomy apparently is back, and main character drags shunned character out, and we finally sing Memories.
Because, main character cat has enough clout that they magically,
Which at this point, having a single shot solo is horrible, because we're so far into this movie and have had so many dance numbers. It just seems weird to stick a camera on one person singing.
Yeah, and it also just felt like this was just an entire, why establish characters and have a plot when you can just burn through?
Yep. So then old Deuteronomy chooses Memory Cat as the winner of the Jellicle thing. So although she's now been accepted back into the community, we're now sending her away to be reborn. And she starts to get lifted up in a basket. And I started looking up how much money this movie made in various countries.
It made too much. This movie made too much money and did not get made fun of enough.
It still lost money. Like, it had a $95 million budget, only made $73.
It did not lose enough money. I just watched it for free. I'm waiting for them to send me a check in the mail. And I'm not just asking for the money for the cost of a ticket. I want reparations. If this amount does not have a comma, this lawsuit's getting dragged out.
Sounds like Sally sending a letter to Santa in a Peanuts Christmas it's Christmas Charlie Brown. I demand reparations. I want what I deserved.
Did we not just sit through the same movie?
Yes, we did. So she's lifted up into cat heaven, I guess.
I don't know. That's also not clear. Like, is it a reincarnation thing? Is it you just get a better life? I don't know.
I don't know.
And then you'd think that's where the movie's gonna end.
No, but our cavity jumps onto the thing and then falls onto a thing, and that's the end of him.
But no, because this, I can now take over for this part because you were IMDbing.
He jumps on a thing and falls on a thing.
Well, he like jumps on the rope thing and then he loses his grip and falls onto the statue, and then his magic is suddenly gone.
Because I'm guessing the other magic cat is blocking his magic, because that's...
I don't know. I'm also convinced it was because the sun was now up.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
either way, from the insane scale this world has, that statue is high enough, that cat just died.
True. And then, for some reason, Judi Dench decides to talk to the audience?
Yeah. We're an hour and a half into this movie. Now let's break the fourth wall.
And they sing the final song, which is the worst song in this movie somehow?
Judi Dench was having a stroke. They went, you know what? She is that damn good of an actress. We're going to fix it in post. Just keep her in frame. This is getting us an Oscar.
Again, looking over the Broadway show, the song makes sense. Because the Broadway show, they're supposed to be breaking the fourth wall all the time. Like, almost every song is supposed to be a break of the fourth wall talking to the audience. So her doing it at the end and what that song is, though it's basically a recap, this makes sense. In this movie...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we have... The rhyme with dog, that was a recap of this movie?
Yes, they're not dogs.
Cats are not dogs.
In fact, we never see a dog.
Groundbreaking.
Never see a dog.
Groundbreaking.
There's a dog, we heard a dog, but we never saw the dog.
But yet we saw humanized cockroaches and humanized mice.
Yes.
At no point other than the lady that throws the cat in the bag do we see a human, which that was my other part that I noted. When they have this big finale moment because, you know, Jennifer Hudson ascended into heaven, let's have a movie for another 10 minutes. They establish a world. We're in the middle of London. It's clearly at least like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. That street is deader than dead. There's no people, there's no businesses starting to open, there's not even a car moving on the road.
She is right. It was daylight in London and nobody,
nothing.
I was kind of looking at the alternate version. That's right.
Oh.
Well, okay, so this was called the completed version. So this wasn't even as bad as the version that was released in theaters for the first couple of weeks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there was a worse version released in theaters for the first couple of weeks.
Oh, where you had Judi Dench's ring the entire time? Because that was the CGI. Does she have a ring or not?
Yep.
Which one's right, which one's wrong?
Yeah. Nobody cares. But yeah, so the movie finally, we get the credit directing, the director of this movie, Tobe Hooper?
Todd
Hooper? Who the hell are you?
Who names their kids Tobe?
I don't know. I was going to say Toby Hooper.
Are you now having a stroke?
No. I was going to say Toby Hooper, but if it's Toby Hooper, this is a really weird movie for him to direct. Oh, Tom Hooper.
Oh, Tom.
It's Tom Hooper, who you may also know. Oh, he directed Les Mis. This is the guy who directed Les Mis. A really good musical. Yeah. And The King's
Shame on you,
Speech.
sir. Shame on you.
He directed The King's Speech as well.
Tom Hooper, what happened? Those are two amazing movies. What the hell happened, Tom? Did you have a midlife crisis?
He got caught doing a CGI, horrible monster CGI movie. Again, this movie should have been animated. At some point, there's just too much CGI. At some point, you just animate.
At this point, I'm just saying this movie never should have been made.
No, I agree. But yeah, this movie is bad. It's so bad. Like, I complain, but I don't feel like ranting. Because I feel like it's just so bad. Nothing surprised me.
See, now, I can go into this. I am that person. There was a small part of me. Even though I had heard all of the things...
She was hoping it was going to be better than it was.
No. Not that it was better than it was. I knew it was going to be bad. But I was hoping it was one of those, it was so bad, and it was so fun to make fun of how bad it was, that made it good to watch. Like, to give you a taste, I love Sharknado.
Yeah, but you're supposed to love Sharknado because it's bad. That movie was made to love because it was bad.
That's true.
Like, you need to give me an example of a movie that was made to be good, that was still bad, but you enjoyed it.
Now I'm just like...
So if I say The Adventures of Pluto Nash, that's an example. It was a movie made to be good, but it turned out bad, but I still really enjoy it.
Okay, this one's for AJ. Passengers.
That movie's awful.
But it's so fun to make fun of that it's enjoyable. Comedy of the Year, 2016.
But yeah, this movie just had so many things wrong with it, from its CG to its plot.
Lack thereof.
Well, that's the problem, is that it doesn't have a plot. It doesn't want to focus on any character, so they're just throwing characters at you and then expects you to care.
Yeah.
Which it never earns the right to care about any of these characters.
Jennifer Hudson's first, intro to this movie was the first time either of us noted, this feels like we're supposed to care. We recognized what it was trying to do, but by the time she came and what they had already set up, we're like, we don't care.
I also pointed out that the actual dialogue, there's dialogue after her song when she's first introduced. And I'm sitting there going, that dialogue should have been before it.
Yes.
If it was before it, that would have been perfect lead-in dialogue to her song. And then I might have cared. But because we got the song, and it was just another cat singing, and then we got dialogue establishing everything, it lost all of its impact. And then we meet James Corden's cat, and he actually gets dialogue to introduce himself, then a song. So they did it right once, but it was for the wrong damn cat. Just because his cat is completely unimportant to the story.
Not a single cat was important.
No, not the way the story was built. I think there's a story there that could have been built where you could have had important cats. I think you could have built the magician cat as important. You could have built the cat that gets ascended. I just forgot. Jennifer Hudson's cat. You could have built that cat to be important. You could have built McCavity to be an important villain. You could have. There are elements there that you could have done. They just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Now I'm going on a rant for bad storytelling. Because that's a horrible thing that movies need to learn how to do. If you're going to tell a story, tell a damn story. Figure it out. Don't just throw things at an audience, because all they're doing is they're just sitting there going, why the hell am I watching this? Like, don't tell me just because it works on Broadway that it's going to work in a movie, because those are two very different situations that work in two very different worlds. You need to be able to give an audience someone to connect to in a movie so that they give a damn for however long you're asking them to give a damn. This movie, this thing that's right here, this CG monstrosity didn't do that. It didn't do that. It decided just to throw things at you. Like, I don't want to break my camera, otherwise I might have thrown this cat at the camera.
Now, little buddy.
That's why I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But, you know, just throwing things at the audience isn't going to fix the movie, isn't going to make them invest in anything. Because, again, we walked through this song by song, and basically all we said was, cats sing, moving on. Cats sing, moving on. At no point did any of it actually sound like it was necessary to a story. And that's, a musical can't just be about songs. It can't be about music. It has to be about a story as well. And the music has to push the story along. And dialogue needs to push the story along. Unless it's a rock opera, an operetta, something like that, then all the music needs to push the story along. And I felt like this movie had too much music not doing anything, and not enough dialogue, so therefore it wasn't doing anything. This was a river, and you want a flow of this river this entire time. You want the river flowing. This was a stagnant puddle of water that was just sitting there, expecting you to go ooh and ah at it being a rapid.
Technically, this movie was a river. It's just the kind of river that you make after you decide that Taco Bell is a good idea at 2 in the morning and you load it full of hot sauce.
Diarrhea River. Would have been a great title for this movie. Diarrhea River, the movie.
Now that I would have gone to the theaters to see.
Probably. So yeah, was I shocked that this was a bad movie? No. Not at all. Not at all.
I was just... The fact that people still went to see it after people knew how bad it was.
I think there is that mentality, though, of people going,
It
can't be that bad. That's kind of why I wanted to review it, because I didn't think it could. I was like, can it be as bad as I've heard it is? Can it really be that bad? I don't know. Can it?
It is.
The only way to find out is to watch it. And once you've watched it, you've watched it. I at least was sensible and waited until I found a copy on Blu-ray for like $2 instead of going to the theaters and paying.
Still overpaid.
Probably.
When we win our lawsuit, I can concede you get a little bit more money than I do because you actually paid for it. I can concede that.
But yeah, so it's just one of those things. Like, at least we didn't shill out money at an actual theater to like $12 to go see this thing.
I feel like if we had actually gone to a theater to see this, that would have been one of the, like, we would have legit walked out before it was done.
I don't know, I've never walked out of a movie, so...
Technically, I have once, but that's only because you and Zach made me.
Didn't make you. You chose to.
No, I chose to go see it, and then you said that I lasted longer than you thought, and I needed to stop hiding behind the popcorn bucket and just wait till the movie was done.
Because you were hiding behind a popcorn bucket.
It was scary!
You were distracting me and Zach. We told you it was going to be scary. We warned you ahead of time.
I didn't think it was going to be that scary. It was very scary.
It was Prometheus. It's not that scary.
It was very scary.
Alright. But yeah, would I say, this would be one of the worst movies I've ever seen?
Yes.
I don't know.
No,
It was bad.
I'm not saying it's the worst, but if you're just going to say, was it one of the worst? Yes, it was one of the worst.
It was bad, but I don't have feelings of utter hate for it. I don't feel like I did after I watched All About Eve. I don't feel like I did after I watched Chronicle. I don't feel like I did after I watched C-Spot Run for the 3rd time in theaters in a week. I don't have that feeling after watching this movie. It was bad. I'm never going to watch it again.
Okay.
I'm never going to recommend it to anyone. But do I think it's worse than San Andreas? Yes.
That was another one. It was trying to be good, but it was so bad that it was good to make fun of. Because San Andreas, if you want a movie that's gonna contradict its own science, that's the movie.
Is it? Okay, so from those movies I did when I said I was doing some of my least favorite movies of all time, way back when, you can find those videos on the channel.
I watched them. They were
This
good.
one would fall somewhere in the level of Savages, for me. It was bad. I never want to watch it again. But I didn't outright loathe that movie.
But that's because I think the first time we watched Savages, we watched it together and we were just having fun making fun of it.
I'm just saying, like, if I was going to rank it against those, that's where I put it. It's not meeting Chronicle or All About Eve levels.
That's true. Those are just straight up brains out of him, and they're fantastic.
It's not meeting those levels because I had no expectation going into this movie. I knew if it was even a little good, it would have exceeded my expectations. It didn't exceed my expectations. It didn't even, go under my expectations. I was as stupefied as what was going on as I thought I would be. And I've watched some pretty stupid stuff in my movie watching time. I still haven't gotten through The Room, but that's going to happen at some point. That's a bad movie. I only watched half an hour of it, and then my player started screwing up the disc. It's a bad movie.
He was trying to warn you.
Yeah, but now I know it will work on other players, so I gotta finish it.
I
It's bad. It's bad. In the first half an hour, there are 2 sex scenes. 30 minutes of this movie. And they're not short scenes. Because they're trying to be romantic and dramatic. But that's a review that will probably come out well before this one. Once I finish watching that movie. But it's supposed to be one of the worst movies ever. But you expect that. Your expectation going into it is it's bad.
Yeah.
So it's hard, because my expectation was bad. That this was going to be bad, and it met my expectations. It didn't exceed, and I don't think it was worse than bad.
I think if I would have to describe my feelings, like, I knew, I'm with you. I knew it was going to be bad. But I think I'm even more disappointed that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I get that.
Like, if it would have been not as bad or worse than that, like, I think I'm just disappointed that there's a disappointment.
Alright, now
It can't even do bad right!
Alright, Courtney, now as my cat expert,
Oh, yes.
I need to ask you this very important cat question.
Yes.
Out of all the cats in this movie, which one are you adopting? You have to adopt one.
If I have to adopt
Yes.
one, out of sheer respect for the actors, I'm adopting old Deuteronomy, because you gotta save Judi Dench.
Alright. Judi Dench, she's adopting you.
So, just so you know, Judi Dench, I'm going to be a very greedy mom, and you're paying for a lot of stuff.
Because as we know, Judi Dench is also a fan of this channel.
Oh, yeah, God, she's one of your subscribers.
Oh yeah. I figured that out years ago.
What up, Judy?
So anyways, Cats, it's a bad movie. This is musical month. I'm looking at musicals. I've still got stuff like Fiddler on the Roof coming, Across the Universe, which is another bad. But I've seen that one before, but I know it's bad. I'm hoping. I don't know. I'm hoping off a review. And Jesus Christ Superstar. If you missed last week's when I talked about the Devil's Carnival and Hallelujah, the Devil's Carnival, you can find that one back in the archive.
Also, since you're hoping, Aldi's sponsor, Bellevue, good water. Come on, Aldi's sponsor, give Martin your money.
I don't have enough viewers to get sponsors.
This is how you start product placement.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you, Courtney, for joining me on
You're welcome.
this wretched journey of a movie and talking about it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss anything. And yeah. And if musicals aren't your thing, come back next month. I'm doing 2 months.
Ooh.
2 months.
Ooh.
Which I'm calling When Animals Attack. I'm going to look at movies with animals as the villains. We're talking like Deep Blue Sea, Lake Placid, Bats, Arachnophobia. We're talking those kind of movies where animals just start murdering people. So it'll be a fun 8 weeks of.
I'll enjoy watching those.
Of talking about the big monster these movies, and they're not even all genetically big. Honestly, some of them are just regular sized animals attacking. So that'll be fun. So check that stuff out. Take a look at some of the past videos that I've done. If you like this format of me talking with somebody else, check out the Return of the King video where I talk with AJ, or you can check out my 100th episode where it's 3 different reviews with 3 different guests.
Woo!
It's 2 hours of fun.
We're not even going to put that in quotes sarcastically.
Thank you for tuning in, and have a good one.